Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to all our viewers. So firstly, I would like to welcome everyone to the Faculty of Engineering UTM Leader of Enterprise web series. So in this 20th Leader of Enterprise series, we are honored to have Mr. Technologist Zulkarnain bin Abdul Wahab from Companies Commissions of Malaysia, or I think we known them as Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, SSM. Just before we begin, I would like to introduce a bit on our speaker for today. So Mr. Zulkarnain has graduated from UUM in Bachelor of IT Honours in 1997, and he also has graduated with Masters of Science Information Management in 2003 from UiTM. And currently, he is pursuing part-time PhD in project management at the International University of Malaya Wales, or IUMW. Mr. Zulkarnain started his career in Telekom Malaysia Berhad from 1997 until 2003, and then he joined SSM since 2003 and is currently the acting director for the Information and Communication Technology Department. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Zulkarnain with his talk in Integration, the New World Grant System, SSM, XBRL Perspective. Assalamualaikum, Mr. Zulkarnain. Welcome.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah. Thank you, Doctor, for your kind introduction.
Okay, so I think I hand over to you so you can brief everyone on your talk today. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody, Dr. Shahrin as the moderator, UTM especially, and all the viewers. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, probably everybody is currently in the PKP MCO. So we take our time to probably listen to some of discussion that probably today I will discuss on the integration, the new grant system, the new world grant system. So allow me to make this as a very relaxed and santai, and probably I'll be talking in dual language just to probably explain in more layman description. Okay, as we all know, have been mentioned earlier. Okay, so a bit of myself. I'm currently working as the head of IT department in Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia. I'm acting director of IT department, and I've joined SSM as early as 2003. So masa tu I was among the pioneer to join SSM. My staff number is actually S004, the orang nombor 4 yang join SSM. So that was way back in 2003. And then I also currently pursuing my PhD in the project management. And the interest area is on the project predictive model, and then financial good standing, blockchain, and e-government. And kalau tuan-tuan nampak ada gambar my professor yang actually supervise me lah. And some of this content in today's talk will be partly discussed, extracted from the research that I did lah. Okay. A bit about Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, who we are. Basically, Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia was established in 2002, focusing as the registrar. Our main function, we have three main functions, which is as the registrar of business entities. We have companies, Sendirian Berhad, we have Berhad, we have limited liability partnership. We also have enterprise businesses. So SSM is the registrar for those business entities. We call those are business entities. And then we are also the custodian of information. Most of the businesses, companies, partnership, they will have to submit information, their financial statement, their annual reports. They'll have to submit to SSM, and SSM will be the custodian because this information is valuable because it will determine that it will actually indicates the economy, the Malaysian economy, and of course for us to deal with a company, we need to understand or we need to know whether the company is in a good shape or not, a good standing of a company. These are the information that we have in our custody, and it is a public domain information, but it's being validated. And then number three is as the governance. So as the mission statement, SSM is to be the top tier corporate registry and regulatory authority. Okay, so why I'm explaining about this main function of SSM, because partly this discussion will touch a bit on how SSM is involved in this integration of businesses and companies. Okay, I'll proceed with the topic topic discussion kita pada hari ini, which is the internet history. Why I bring you all back to the history, because of later we will see that actually the grand system that I'll be talking about is not something new. It is something that has been started way back in as early as 1960s. Quoted by Vinton Cerf, the joint father of internet. They call it father of internet. He mentioned about in as early as 1988, internet has been privatized and offered to the mass public. Previously, it was merely a military projects by Department of Defense of US under the code name of ARPANET. And then starting from that, people, or rather the internet community, started to exchange information. So from information exchange, they become collaboration, and then it become integration, and then eventually it become the whole new society, the global society. So quoting from that, I'm explaining that as early as the inception of internet, people has actually motivated to provide integration, a world integration between one continent to another, between one country to another, from one party to another. Okay, so this is also a bit of the historical. In 1960s, komputer mula-mula diperkenalkan. as early as 1960s. Um, Somebody called Licklider mooted the idea of global computer network. So, although internet was actually made private, public, uh, as early as 1980s, but the idea of global network mooted by Licklider in 1962. So as early as 1960s. And then in 1973, the person that I've just mentioned earlier, Vinton Cerf, has actually introduced this protocol, TCPIP protocol. I believe some of the telecommunication engineering student have learned about this TCP/IP in networking 101 lah, probably. Yeah? So being introduced by Khan and Vinton Cerf in 1973, and then in 1980s, the most the oldest application and the most reliable until now, the email system. Yang sebaya ataupun yang seusia dengan email system ni, probably some of older generation may have actually still remember the chat, IRC, Gopher, all those things is actually was firstly introduced together with email application. So that is how old an email application is. So it was made public in 1982 when public are able to connect to this ARPANET. And they connect through phone lah. They connect through modem, a machine. I think the current generation have never seen this modem. A very noisy machine. And then in 1990s, the World Wide Web was introduced, WWW. I still remember when I was still in the university, somebody introduced me with Mosaic, the first web browser, Mosaic. And then come the Netscape Gold, and after that come the Internet Explorer. So all these things are the evolution, decades of internet, where internet grows from very text-based information sharing up to multimedia. Then come the era of era of Google, where people start to share more than text. They start to share videos. They start to share photographs. Even now, everything are based on videos. YouTube's, everybody are sharing videos. Not only the training, but also manuals. Now people has stopped reading manuals. People has looked at YouTube as the manual. So now people, instead of providing manuals, they're providing a link to YouTube. How do we operate this machine, for example? Even people buying cars. Now the link, they refer back to YouTube on how you operate on certain features of the car. All right. Those are the decades of internet, and then later, okay, again, the evolution of computing system, starting from the old computing machines, and then come mainframes, personal computers, from very huge machines, and then it shrunk down into personal computers. So at that time, having a personal computers is like a very prestigious state. because we have personal computers. Because previously, before that, for you to have a computer, you need to have a very huge data center. And then from personal computers, they become internetwork. They are integrated between computers through LAN, local area network, and then then it grow to become a bigger wide area network, and then eventually it become internet. So basically, this is how eventually a bigger agenda of system come into picture. And recently, we are talking about cloud computing, where so many things being connected to the internet and providing a capability virtually. So we don't have to have a server in our environment. Everything we simply subscribe to the internet, and then things have become cheaper because we share the operational costs, we share some of the overhead, and it can be offered to as many people as possible. And it goes a step further. Between people, we need to, again, it's the nature of people, we need to actually communicate with each other, share some knowledge, or work together to achieve certain objective. So that comes the integration. So integration is not something new. Integration is also being outlined in IR 4.0. Originally, IR 4.0 only have like 9 pillars. After some deliberation by the experts and by the industry, they said it is also required for us to include additional two, which is one of it is the integration. So what is actually integration? System integration occurs in a vertical within the industry value chain, and in horizontal across multiple value chain. So the integration can happen vertical and horizontal, within the value chain and across multiple value chain. So those are the definition of system integration. To achieve end-to-end digital integration across the entire value chain. Okay, right. So why am I talking about this integration? Because eventually this is the main factor in getting people to become a smaller society. The whole global population will become a smaller society called the Global Village, introduced by McLuhan in 1962. 1962, McLuhan introduced the term Global Village. So this is actually an agenda started as early as 1960s, where people is hoping to get collaboration between countries, continents, and the whole world to be part of the collaboration. So what enables that? This is the electronic computing system. Okay, I saw some of the questions. Probably I'll answer towards the end of my discussion. Allow me to complete first, and then I'll go one by one. The question that I've got in the chat. Okay. Okay. Okay, just a bit of technical. I think this is also part of your Network 101 Internet Protocol. Why I'm talking about this the Internet Convention? Because there are certain things that I will actually from the observation, we can actually see there are certain similarities that can be used for further expansion of the concept. Okay, if you can see, we have a Internet Protocol, IPv4 and IPv6. Basically, if we can see, there are areas where it allows extensions. Although this extension serve a dedicated purpose, like for example, some authentication, security, and also we also have during IPv4 we have options. This other thing actually for layman, an extension from a standard. There's a standard, but a standard also allows certain expansion of some flexibility to the standard, because the need of having um, dynamic requirement, because during the planning normally we only gather information within our surrounding, within our environment, but later uh, the when we start communicating with other people with different culture, different environment, we suddenly realize there are other requirements. So the key point here is to have some extension to a standard. Okay, that goes in line with the web technology as well. Eh? Originally, web technology started with HTML, hypertext markup language. And then from this pure information sharing, rather um, just like a book, people read HTMLs. Then it grows to become XML. It become more live. It become more a system-like technology. So before web, we have this client-server system where we don't have web-based system, and then it grows to become a web-based system. So what enables the web-based system is this XML, which later grows into HTML5, JavaScript, XML, and whatnot. But this XML is very key to the expansion from merely a readable website to become an application website. All right. And what is the difference is the user-defined text. User-defined text that allows the uh, developer to expand the capability of a web system. Okay, so with that, there are certain criteria that we see is key to having an integration. So what are the criteria? Number one, it must be heterogeneous. When we talk about heterogeneous, what come first into our mind is the www. We can see, we can actually access World Wide Web ataupun web browser ni. We can access it from our phone. We can access it from our television now, smart television. So doesn't matter whether the operating system ni Windows based, Linux based, Android based, Mac, whatever. It is compatible with any variants of machines, operating system, or devices. And even now, the owner of Proton X70 apa semua tu, they can have actually have access to web-based system. And then on top of having a heterogeneous capability, integration also must have a standard protocol. Kalau tak ada standard protocol, of course we cannot understand lah, because it is common understanding. Kalau kita cakap bahasa Malaysia, the recipient must understand bahasa Malaysia. If we talk in English, the recipient must understand English. So we must have a common understanding. If we are talking about TCP, if you're talking on the platform of internet protocol, rather TCPIP, the recipient must also accept the TCPIP protocol. So a standard must be established. And then adaptive. Even now, system it's not like 10, 20 years ago where we develop a system and then it's stuck like that. We need to keep enhancing the system. Why we need to do? Why we need to keep enhancing the system? Because the system is so rigid and static. So eventually, a system itself must be able to rebuild, to evolve itself. And that's why it must be an adaptive a system must be very adaptive to dynamic needs. And how do we see the needs? How the system respond to the adaptive requirement? So we need to have some flexibility and extension. Again, the word extension come to the picture. And then another thing is the governance. We need to make sure that all things are being validated. All the communication, all the integration, all the data and information records are all being validated on confidentiality, in availability, integrity. So all these things must be validated. If not, we won't be having a system or the reliable information or reliable outcome of integration. All right. So a bit on this TCP/IP protocol again, because I started my career as the telecommunication engineer. So these are my passion to talk about the communication protocol like TCP/IP. Yes, I know it is very basic, but I'd like to bring everybody to see that there's still a gap. We have like originally we have OSI layer, 7 layer, and then we have TCP/IP. But I would like to bring the idea of expanding the layer from just application. We need to expand to logical and business layer, because once the application delivered the information, it doesn't stop there. The information must be then taken by certain decision maker. Macam kita dapat email, for example. If we got email, from that email, it's not simply, I mean, yes, some email are leisure. We just read it just for our knowledge. But even knowledge, later we will take that knowledge to become a factor in our decision making. So the decision making, the execution is part of the business requirement. So if we can allow some logical explanation to the information, then later business can also be automated. That's why I'm suggesting the layer to be actually expanded to logical or data, and then up to business layer. Why am I proposing this? Because this is actually the main discussion of our talk today. Oh, lama betul saya punya mukadimah ni. Panjang cerita, barulah nak cerita. This is actually where XBRL resides. XBRL, Extensible Business Reporting Language. It does not decide dekat sebelah communication, application layer semua tu. Actually, it decides on logical data and business and business information. Alright. Kejap lagi saya akan explain what is it all about, XBRL ni. But okay. XBRL ni is part of the future for business reporting language lah, basically. Okay. So this is a XBRL. XBRL stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language. People will ask, why? Kenapa nama dia XBRL? Shouldn't it be EBRL? Extensible? Oh, tak canggih. Jadi kita pakai huruf kedua dulu, yang huruf X tu lah. Because now people dah tak berapa adhere to the real spelling. Kalau kita tengok, kita even if we send WhatsApp, kadang-kadang kita do not bother to betulkan pun kalau bila kita tersilap pun, ataupun terlupa certain letter pun kita buat tak kisah aja, because we understand the other party will understand us. Okay, so in this case, XBRL stands for Extensible Business Reporting Language. It consists of two information. Number one is the taxonomy. Number two is the instance. What is this taxonomy? Taxonomy is like a metadata. For people learning web development, they have metadata. And what is metadata? Metadata is information about information, data about data, or explanation about data. I give example what is taxonomy or metadata is. For example, our IC number. Our IC number, just by IC number is merely a number. It's just a sequential number. But from that, we can actually extract out our birth dates. We can tune out whether our gender. We can extract out where we were born, which state we were born. So all these things, di mana ada explanation tu? So if we can explain the first two data, if I explain the first 4 digit from reading from left is your birth date. Then followed by your state code. So this explanation is the metadata. This explanation are taxonomy. So with that, people can understand. If I give a number, an IC number to people living in Papua New Guinea, for example, they may not understand. Or I give it to even to a British citizen, they may not understand what does this. For them, is merely a number. But understanding the number is actually the metadata. So if we tell if we send our IC number to a person living in Canada, and we mentioned that this IC number consists of several other information. Number, first 4 digit are the birth dates. Sorry, first 6 digit is our birth dates, and follow and so forth. And then they will understand. So this is the importance of understanding the metadata of a business information. Previously, we just send financial statement or accounts, and then in hoping that the other party is also an accountant to be able to read debit, credit, all these things. They know the convention. But for those who have not learned the convention, where do they get the understanding of reading the financial statement? Where do they get the understanding of reading an accounts? So these are the things we need to have this metadata, or rather taxonomy, to be specific. All right. So again, taxonomy and instance. So the business information lies in the instance, while the logical data actually representing the taxonomy. Terbalik kalau tuan-tuan tengok dekat saya punya gambar tu, terbalik. Patutnya taxonomy and instance actually doesn't matter. As long as I can actually explain to you, the taxonomy referred to the logical data, the how logic the data being processed, and then the instance is the actual data. Berapa banyak syarikat untung ataupun rugi. So those are the information. And in XBRL, it is called instance. All right. So a bit of the XBRL. Then let me mengimbau sedikit tentang sejarah XBRL itu sendiri. In 1998, an accountant not a software engineer. He's not the communication engineer. He's an accountant. Somehow, satu masa, he learned about XML. I don't know why. This guy suddenly, the hunger for knowledge make him study XML, how to make a web page. From that, it triggers a brilliant idea. Tung, keluar lampu, keluar menthol bulb. Saying that, hey, I can actually apply the same concept to financial statement, to accounting reports, to accounting documents. Because financial statement previously can be read from multiple perspective. Saya bagi example, ada beberapa masa dulu berlaku perdebatan. Ada company X ni sebenarnya adalah menguntungkan, sehingga sampai ke parlimen lah apa semua. Ada some group kata dia company ni adalah mempunyai pencapaian yang baik. Ada satu lagi parti yang mengatakan tidak, company ni rugi, padahal mereka membaca dokumen yang sama. Jadi sometimes statistic, figures, numbers can be interpreted from different perspective, providing different decision. Yang ini yang berbahaya sebenarnya. Kalau sekiranya the original intent of the documents was being twisted into giving a different objective. So that's why antara objektif of XBRL ialah untuk meletakkan perspektif yang betul dalam memastikan information being transferred or being shared over to the other party being read exactly from the perspective or the standard like being intended by the creator of the information. All right. So Charles Hoffman, an accountant, then creates XBRL in 2000. Lama dah, lebih kurang 21 tahun yang lepas. XBRL 1.0, and then it evolved into XBRL 2.0, and then sampailah XBRL 2.1 baru it is actually usable ataupun practical to be offered to the usage in industry. So starting from 2003 lah, basically the first being adopted by American Security Commission, and then it was actually being mooted by Charles Hoffman, and then being promoted by American Accounting Society, ICPA, and recently it is actually known by XBRL International, because they said this is actually the way forward for business reporting. And for SSM, we have started to embark on the journey with XBRL as early as 2018. 2018, with the introduction of a system called MBRS, Malaysian Business Reporting System. Okay, a bit of that. And then how do we actually implement XBRL in SSM? Or I would rather say in Malaysia, because SSM ni is the birth of a company. So when we start introducing the reporting of a birth of a company, then it will actually carry out the rest of their punya life journey, understanding the same language of reporting. Okay, so we introduce SSM XT, SSM extensible, SSM XBRL taxonomy, SSM XBRL taxonomy, because we need to incorporate some of the additional extensions on top of Charles Hoffman XBRL yang being introduced in 2003. Malaysia will have to provide some of the extension. For example, I give example, some of the culture, macam contohnya halal. halal status, for example, or information about Islamic banking. All this thing actually peculiar to probably the Islamic country, macam Malaysia, apa nama, negara-negara Arab, for example. These are very peculiar to the original XBRL. So we need to put in the extension. That is why I bring mula-mula mukadimah tadi. On top of standard, we need to have an extension to standard too, because that will allow a more flexible and dynamic system. Because the system, kalau dia nak evolve itself, kalau macam contohnya coronavirus, dia can evolve. How does virus ni evolve? Through the apa nama, the pressure of living ni, because dia bila after some time dia tengok dia tak boleh hidup dekat kelawar, dia start to mutate and evolve to become capable untuk hidup dalam badan manusia pula. Begitu juga dengan sistem. Sistem ni kalau sekiranya diberikan extension information atau additional information, and this information will allow the system to reinvent itself to become more susceptible to the new information. Okay, tak apa, saya tak nak cerita panjang. Kejap lagi saya akan cerita in detail macam mana benda tu berlaku. And then implementation of Malaysian Business Reporting System, nombor 2 tu, we implemented MBRS through system development apa semua, and then we have implemented the MBRS. And then lastly ialah kita menggalakkan ataupun annual report. Kita memang minta semua orang submit the annual report, and then kita sekarang ni kita masih lagi menggalakkan financial statement untuk dihantar menggunakan XBRL format ni tadi. Why we promote the use of XBRL? Because alright, so because currently everybody bila dia submit their documents, they send maybe annual report, financial statement. Company A will send the same taxonomy and XBRL format. Company B will send, company C will send. So all these things will making use of the same business reporting language tadi. So eventually, the companies can talk using the same language. If they were to actually communicate, they want to see company A, for example, nak acquire company E, for example. So they can just send directly to company E using the same language, and this language is readable by computers. So it'll be easier for the computer to say the company E ni worth buying, for example, sending to the bot. The system will actually determine whether it is actually feasible or not for a company to be bought over, because computer dengan bantuan probably Dr. Sharin mungkin apa nama lebih memahami some of the machine learning and artificial intelligence will allow the computer to do some algorithm and understand how people make decision, and eventually it can make decision on behalf of the directors, on behalf of board of directors. Okay, so I give example. MBRS SSM XBRL taxonomy ni. These are among the example lah. Kalau kita tengok the label atau the tag tu kat sebelah kiri sekali tu. Kalau tuan-tuan nampak lah, boleh baca. The concept document tu duduk dekat yang tengah-tengah, and then the governance atau policy dia tu ada sebelah kanan. So these are the thing yang actually describing macam tadi lah, macam saya sentuh tadi, IC. Dalam kes ni dia pun menceritakan tentang 7 digit company registration number. What does that company registration number carry, and how it is being apa nama how can we take values out of the company's registration number. And then I'm also providing some example on MFRS, Malaysian Financial Reporting Standard ni, yang mana kita juga menambahkan some of the extensions dalam Islamic financing facilities. So ada banyak, sebenarnya ada thousands of tagging yang ada dalam ni. Tuan-tuan dan puan boleh download daripada SSM website. Those are the taxonomies. These are the metadata explaining about all the information contained within the financial statement and annual reports. Yeah. Okay. So who really uses the XBRL? So other than SSM, kita juga ada other governance body, i.e. The enforcement, the governance body macam Bank Negara, we have SC, Securities Commission for public listed companies, and then LHDN. So all this thing requires the information from companies and business entities, and other business entities lah, businesses, partnership and whatnot. So these are the parties that actually promotes and be part of the member of XBRL Malaysia, and they also appreciate the usage of XBRL because that will actually allow easier collaboration between business and this governance body. All right. So that is why it is actually key to SSM to introduce the SSM taxonomy for everybody to understand the metadata of information contained in an information provided within the annual return and annual report and the financial statement. Okay, this is just a case study that actually being proposed for us to move forward. Since the XBRL is meant for sharing of information, the nearest technology that is actually complement the existence of XBRL is blockchain, because blockchain provides the distributed ledger. It provides distributed ledger. It provides integrity and control, so that the owner of information, for example, a company, normally company secretaries will have all the information for a company. Then it can be shared to SSM. So in this case, because of we still need to make sure the authenticity of the information. So that's why we differentiate between the instance and the taxonomies. So the taxonomies can be shared over the blockchain network, while the instances is actually shared within a private blockchain network. Well, basically, there's no private lah. Basically, a blockchain must not reside in private. Blockchain must be residing in consortium at least. So the term private refers to a consortium where certain members of participants provide a partnership to provide this the blockchain network. Okay, so with that, the authenticity can be ensured, or well, basically not authenticity, the authority of the information can still be controlled and governed by the governance body. In this case, SSM. All right. Just a business case study. So basically, with that, come the idea if we can actually expand the model. If we can do it in business reporting, can we do it in enforcement body? Can we do it in medical? Can we do it in tourism? Can we do it in agriculture? If there is a standard of language where the medical personnel wanted to send over the formula for vaccine, for example, send it over um, to Indonesia, for example. So they can actually produce the same formula in Indonesia without sending the people or the subject matter expert. So all this thing actually will optimize and save the resources, because some of the information can be transferred over with the rightful perspective. So that's why a bigger system, a grander system can happen if not only business reporting language is being formulated, but also probably a different sectors. So a grand system of intersectorial collaboration. And for that, a decision making can be automated. So this is actually the main objective of this discussion, is to actually propagate the study, probably, to have more reporting language within the business and logical data, so that later the intersectorial communication and collaboration can happen in more fluid and efficient. Okay, so this is actually the uh, um, the grand system definition, when it is actually integrated, and an integrated autonomous system that play its own role. Setiap system play its own role. For example, kalau I give example sekarang ni, a good example macam contohnya the insurance policy. Insurance policy, they have their own system. Insurance companies, they have their own system, which integrates back to JPJ. JPJ and insurance company are two different um, organization. They're two different. Uh, they're having two different business. JPJ is enforcement body, while insurance is selling the service. So in that sense, they can communicate intersectorial. If we can actually make sure that the same business reporting language is being used in Malaysia, is the same business reporting language being used in other countries, later it is easier for us even to buy insurance in Singapore. And of course, there are certain legal limitation that we have to go through. But what I'm trying to say, eventually, we can buy anything, any service, everywhere from anywhere in the world. Yeah, which later will actually making the real global village to be realized. And again, it serves the purpose of serving humanity. So basically, what are the benefits? It will be a single point of truth. It will be dynamic and responsive to change the application tadi. If it comes together, macam contohnya, if I send this information about IC tadi kepada people in Canada, a system there will be able to read the metadata and response to the metadata, so that it can also read IC number. Okay? So with all this metadata, system will be able to reinvent itself, to be able to adapt to the information as explained in the metadata. So that is the dynamic and responsive change to the system. And then it can reduce consumption, because resource consumption, because of repetitive system being developed, Padahal we can actually do it once, and then it will actually participate in providing information to other parties. We do not to have to copy certain information to have a redundant copy of data, except for backup and integrity and availability lah. But somehow the issue of backup ni ataupun redundant data ni is the single point of truth semua tadi. And then it optimize the process. So we don't have to copy the same process which is carried out by some other organization. We just get the result of the information provided by the other party to be consumed and used within our business process. So we can actually optimize the business process. That will also reduce the resources. And then, of course, we can make sure the data and information are up to date. It is always current. We don't have to wait for annual activities. Because dulu kita kumpul dia ujung bulan apa semua because of it is actually required for us to do the processing. But as it go by on the fly, we don't need the delay or the grace period for the processing part. And then lastly, the information is being democratized, being publicly offered to all stakeholders. And there are also certain threats like the breach of privacy, minimum control can pose a threat to probably hacker, and then social and economic disparity. Exactly macam kita punya online learning during the PKP, there are still people left behind. So this will actually create a bigger gap between the social and economic status. And also there's a threat to sovereignty. Because tadi macam saya bagi example tadi, tiba-tiba kita nak pergi beli pula insurans dekat tempat lain yang lebih murah. British Virgin Island ke, for example, we don't know. Maybe dekat sana lebih flexible ke apa semua. Kita simpan duit and then kita beli insurans semua dekat sana. We don't know. But that could also threat a post of sovereignty. Kedaulatan negara. So basically, those are the things yang can happen towards the grant system tadi lah. And then lastly, probably this is just this conclusion, integration platform for business and logical layer need to be established to address the perspective of information so that people can understand the information from the right perspective, and then it can also use as the dynamic it can also use for other system to learn about the information that is not available in their schema. And then for that to happen, we need to have intersectorial collaboration. And we have to make sure that each sector having the same standard of collaboration. And then the technocrats, the technologists, the researchers need to enable the technology towards enabling towards the collaboration agenda. So probably I'm sharing with tuan-tuan dan puan-puan semua, especially in UTM, so that we can actually propagate this more collaboration on business and logical layer ni nanti, supaya later there are more sectors yang having this reporting language yang sama, so that we can eventually will become a single grant system yang memudahkan kita untuk melaksanakan tugas-tugas khususnya untuk humankind. Jadi saya rasa lebih kurang itu saja saya punya celoteh saya pada petang Ahad ni. Saya ada beberapa, mungkin saya boleh agaknya menjawab beberapa soalan agaknya. Saya ada nampak macam dalam ni
Ya, nanti soalan
Ah,
kita akan keluarkan sekejap lagi lah.
okay,
Nanti
okay, boleh.
biar tim technical standing by. Okay,
Boleh, boleh.
so thank you, Mr. Zulkarnain. I think it's a very insightful talk, and it's very interesting to know how SSM implemented the XBLR. So before we go to the question, can I ask you one thing? It's quite interesting for me to see on the taxonomy, the SSM taxonomy. So it is ready, I assume, since XBRL is already being implemented in SSL. So is the taxonomy can be used by the public? I mean, even or maybe for universities for research. Can we have access to the taxonomy, or
Sure.
is it? It's
It is
public use, is it?
publicly available. You can have access to our website. It is you can actually download it from the www.ssm.com.my, or
Oh,
you can
okay.
just Google and just write SSMXT. The whole document is available uh, for usage and consumption.
Oh, okay. So it's still growing, is it? The taxonomy itself is still growing, because I know, I mean, it still need to be add more, words in it. So
True,
the
true.
SSM is, I mean, I assume the SSM is itself is actually trying to grow all of this taxonomy, so it will, it will be much better.
Yes. Selagi belum kiamat, we need to grow the taxonomy, because people will come with so many invention and innovation. So that's the system will actually have to adapt to that apa nama situation lah. Kata.
Okay. So maybe we can take one more. I think there's a lot of interesting questions. So okay,
Yeah.
so we have one question. Professor Dr. Wan Nasir Muhammad is our chair from School of Computing. So he asked one question: Can you share the challenges and success stories in practical implementation to address all these different platform and also different technologies?
Okay. Susah nak jawab ni sebenarnya. Anyway, sharing the challenges and success stories memang betul lah. Basically, the challenges will be always the change management part of it. We need to actually educate people, because previously people just simply send a physical copy, a bulk of documents to SSM, and then SSM will have to read macam baca karangan tu, and then pick up the salient point and then enter into our system. But later, with this XBRL, the companies and businesses will, the business entities will have to actually submit not only the information but also the description of the information. So this requires people to understand, and sometimes people say, dulu I just submit probably a bunch of documents. Now I have to submit not only probably double or triple the number of the information that being provided earlier, because we need to provide the description just mentioned earlier, the taxonomy, because each of them will explain why is this figure is being defined as such. Going back to the challenges, always number one is the awareness and change management part of it, because resistance is very high. Even in the US during the first few years implementation of SBRL, people was talking about the data is becoming even dirtier than it is supposed to, because people jadi macam hantar salah maklumat. Patutnya nama, because kadang-kadang nama dia kata nama the father's name, the last name, the first name, this kind of thing yang kalau sekiranya people is not aware ataupun tidak faham, bukan tak ada, the description is there in the SM taxonomy, but sometimes people tend to overlook. So all these things are part of the change management, and it is a big challenge to us. And then the practical implementation as of now masih lagi meant for annual reports. we tried as much as possible. We have not mandated the
Mm.
the financial statement. Kita dah suruh orang submit annual report dulu, because the data information is not as abundance as compared to yang we have in financial statement. Tapi people dah start lah. I mean, awareness, people have started to submit the information through the system. And again, yelah, it is maybe quite, orang kata flowery lah. Nak kata heterogeneous means every platform can actually submit this XBRL. Tapi again, practicalities. Takkan kita nak hantar financial statement through mobile phone. Kita nak kena buat the accounting apa semua through mobile phone. So this other thing, kadang-kadang we still provide the technology that is actually heterogeneous, but now comes back to the practicality and the business requirement of it. So even kalau ikutkan, kalau betul-betul Android pun boleh. So with Android, kadang-kadang macam saya cakap tadi lah, X70 dalam tu ada Android pun boleh submit financial statement, but who wants to do that?
Betul. Yeah.
Alright.
Okay. So can we have another question? Okay. Okay. So how can academician collaborate with SSM, especially in the computing field? And also, if there's any, can you share with us any challenges of university industry collaboration? So I assume SSM has university collaboration. So what are the challenges that you had in that?
Okay, let's talk about opportunity dulu lah. Opportunity, because memang SSM currently we are in the midst of actually having MOU lah dengan at least three other we have about 3 universities yang we can actually collaborate with, dan kita about towards the end lah untuk sign the MOU. And with that, actually we can actually share. Sebenarnya we need to actually live symbionts lah, bersimbiosis lah antara satu sama lain, saling sokong menyokong, sebab because kita punya, we need to celebrate our differences lah, because industri ni kadang-kadang dia make decision based on practicalities. Academic will be able to actually assist and advise industries. For example, how do we actually making sure on certain decision is made based on a tested punya method. So biasanya decision making dekat industries, they can't wait for the testing to be carried out. Kadang-kadang because of it has been done successfully previously, so they just carry, okay, we are sure this can happen. Yeah, probably 80 or 70% success, but 30% is the lesson learned, and this lesson learned we can share with the academic world, because these are the probably new research question to be studied and to be explored.
Yes, correct. Agree. That's really something that I think academician can really help and look into on that. Okay. So thank you just now, Ms. Zafira, for the question. So we have one question from Zeyun Lee. How is the job prospect of cloud computing engineer or data engineer in Malaysia? So maybe you can just give a general observations that you have on this cloud computing engineer and also data engineer. And what about SSM itself? Do you have this type of job prospect for students? Because we know that data engineer, data science is very, very popular right now. So maybe you can just give your insight on that.
Yeah, basically these are two areas which is highly demanded lah in this coming future, because eventually people reducing the resources, because as much as possible, I don't want to have data center in my building, because it poses a risk threat of losing data. So with that, we need to, as much as possible, we would like to go for cloud-based system. So as everybody now growing, it's become very anxious to go towards cloud because of number one, not only organization, big corporate organization, but also individuals can also enjoy the benefits of cloud services. So in this case, bermakna the cloud services will grow. It will be here. It will grow. It will stay, and grow stronger. So with that, the demand of people, engineers supporting the cloud computing is very high. And even now, Malaysian cloud is very scarce because kita masih lagi bergantung dengan AWS lah, kita bergantung lagi lah dengan Google, kita bergantung dengan so many things yang being hosted outside of the Malaysia. Pada masa yang sama, we are having this constraints of data sovereignty lah, some of the security issues lah, apa semua, which requires Malaysia to have a strong data center. So we need to have all the brains develop Malaysian cloud as good as Google, as good as, or if we can't beat them, we join them. Maybe we eventually all these big companies can have existence, point of presence in Malaysia. So with that, we require a lot of brains that can actually supporting this infrastructure. And goes back to the data scientist. That is also another future career. If we can see, because eventually people are not talking about merely data. People are talking about the value added information. So kita pun even now we don't bother looking at all the details. Kita nak tahu apa conclusion dia saja. Kalau kita baca, contohnya, even kita baca website, kadang kita baca tajuk aja. Why? Because we want to see what is the conclusion je. So begitu juga dengan data. If we read all the information, we have full access to that lah. Tapi kadang-kadang, for us to making decision, we need to have the concluded data, the processed data, the analyzed data. So all these things, because of dunia bertambah laju, so people will have to make a faster decision. So in that case, data analyst, big data is a demand. Even in SSM, kita baru dalam inisiatif kita untuk membangunkan kita punya ni sendirilah, the whole life cycle of data analyst, because SSM kita pula custodian of information. Kita simpan banyak business information. So kalau tak ada analytics, it stay as information. It doesn't become value added product yang boleh memberi manfaat kepada semua orang.
Betul. Yeah, that's true. So maybe we can have one more question from the audience. Okay, so this is from Nur Idina. So can you share with us IT involvement in SSM, since you are the pioneer? So maybe just a little bit of throwback from, IT perspective from first you joined 2003 and until now. I think you've witnessed a lot on this, I think.
Yeah. As early as 2003, in short, what I can share is actually the IT not only in SSM lah. Basically, it's all over the world. The growth is exponential. The growth is exponential macam tu because dulu masa mula-mula saya masuk in 2003, I have to operate mainframe. When I was in university, I heard about mainframe ni macam historical je. Then I come to kerja, ada lagi. Way back in 2003 lah. So we have to support irregardless. So number one, is capability to learn and relearn. Kita ingatkan kadang-kadang dekat universiti they prepared the student tu for future apa nama ni. Tapi ni I'm talking about the way back lah. I'm not talking about now lah ya. Tanya not feeling, but I'm talking about lama-lama dulu. They're preparing betul lah, which is very, very rightful, betul. Untuk prepare for the future apa nama workforce. Tapi ada juga kadang-kadang yang mana the contohnya kadang-kadang zaman tu banks they are very reluctant to move towards the latest technology. So these are among the thing. And then kita grow from the mainframe, go to web-based, and then online submission up to now the integration. That and we can't stay stagnant. We need to actually since everybody tengah orang kata excited to this IR 4.0, we also looking at how best can we actually adapt ourselves with that apa nama disruptive era.
Okay, so yeah, I think I have request for one more question. So can we put up the question? Sorry, Mr. Zul, I think the topic is quite interesting. There's a lot of questions from the audience. Yeah, okay, so this one more. From Chua Chen Wei, can you share with us the challenges SSM face while implement XBRL since it's still new here? So yeah, I think maybe, I think you have mentioned this a bit in your presentation, but then maybe you can just inform us on how does, the challenges that SSM face.
Okay, other than the change management just now, of course, the technology itself lah. Because as mentioned, mentioned by Chua Chen Wei ni, that it is scarce, very hard for us to find subject matter expert to do the development, to do the not only the system but the taxonomy itself. We require people who have experience doing that in other country. So that's why we somehow get the information, the skills or the experts from various countries, basically from India, from Canada, from so many countries, basically that have experience implementing that. And when it is very scarce, it is very expensive because these people demand, because again it's economic apa nama theory kan, demand and supply. So if there's very minimum supply, the demand very high, so the cost will be very expensive lah. So those are among the thing. So again, my advice to probably students ataupun ni, because this is again why university send people for knowledge apa nama exploration, because we need to be at the forefront of the knowledge, so that nanti kita bila kata kita perlukan experts, we have people yang memang ada knowledge on that. So nanti apa nama, we don't have to actually rely on external apa nama brains lah for us to leap forward towards the success of the nation.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic that we have discussed today. So yeah, I think so. We have come to the end of the Leaders of Enterprise webinar series today. But before we end, is there any last word from Mr. Zulkarnain in the topic itself, or especially in general, on what do you think on fourth IR and also the future of XBRL? So any last word?
Basically, kadang-kadang all these new technologies, we just follow trend. When trend sometimes is not the real thing happens in reality lah sometimes. Trend kadang-kadang, for example, we heard about sometime last time kita ada tengok teknologi, macam-macam teknologi lah, macam even telecommunication technology, satu masa dulu ada HSDPA, DSL teknologi, sekejap je and then it collapse. So for especially students, we need to be the word is agile. We need to be very flexible,
Adaptive.
very adaptive to changes. This will actually give us the advantage lah for us to actually bersama-sama with the rest of the teknologi practitioner ni, because hari ni dia cerita tentang satu teknologi, besok they said it's a dying technology. Semalam je, just to share with everybody, I have this problem dengan satu teknologi yang dulu semua orang pakai. If you all aware pasal flash player, dia dah lama orang pakai benda, it's a free plugins, and suddenly Adobe decide to stop the system. So I find it no expansion apa semua, and it's suddenly abruptly dia mati. So itulah antara lain my suggestion ialah untuk kita be more flexible, adaptive and agile. How do we achieve that? By again readings, exploring, testing, and all these things requires some effort dan juga keberanian lah. Kadang-kadang kita tak berani nak test because takut rosak, takut dalam dunia IT ni, especially in industry, orang kata if it doesn't break, let it be there. Sebab kalau kita kacau dia, ada risk untuk dia fail. So I learned it the first thing I learned it during my first year of working. The day, I think the first or second day, I masuk je, I dah downkan the whole server dekat satu Malaysia ni, that company that I work with, and then I learn it that way lah. So those are among the things, but the adventurous attitude tu kena ada. Walaupun kadang kita buat silap, tapi buat silap tu actually give us a valuable lesson.
Yes, betul. I think that is a very good advice, and I think all students should take note on that. Okay, and especially coming from the industry people, I think they should really take note on the advice. Okay, so yeah, again, on behalf of Faculty of Engineering, I would like to say thank you to our guest today, Mr. Technology Zulkarnain Abdul Wahab, for a very, very interesting talk. And I think our viewers have learned a lot from you today. And also, I would like to thank everyone who's with us. Don't forget to join us, the Faculty of Engineering, with more interesting talk in our webinar series. And also don't forget to like, share our Facebook page. I hope everyone will have a good day ahead. Stay safe. I'm Sharin and Mr. Zulkarnain, and we'll see you soon. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sampai jumpa lagi.
InsyaAllah.